wanna take you out of here, take you somewhere new, if only for a little while. Sweep you up off your feet, walk on a foreign street, and we'll talk all night. There ain't nothing wrong with home. Sometimes I just feel alone, and I don't know why. Oh, I don't know why. What I want is an open road, with my lover beside me on that highway to places I'd never go. I gotta lose myself to find my way. Oh, love is sweet when deep calls to deep in the final round, and everything you ever done stands like a mountain steep. Oh, you don't look down. Oh, you don't look down. There ain't nothing wrong with home. Heaven only knows how we made it through the hard times. I'd do it all again. What I want is an open road, with my lover beside me on that highway to places I never go. I gotta lose myself to find my way down another road. What I want is an highway to places we've never known, and I need you beside me. Know that my destination is where we go. We lose ourselves to find our way back home. I wanna take you out of here, take you somewhere new, if only for a little while. All right. Let's make sure we're set up here. Let me get in the chat here and see if y'all can hear me. Can y'all hear me okay? All right, I'm in the cabin campout, and I'm guessing I'm being heard. There we go. I'm being heard. So let's start up. All right. I'm very new at this live stuff. Oh my goodness. There's a lot to learn. Yesterday I I found out afterwards that my daughter's mic was not on. So I apologize for that. Today, I'm going to keep it a little bit simpler. It's just me tonight. We'll have Cozy back on another one of the nights of the camp out. And once again, I apologize. I'm not at the camp out. My internet, I couldn't get it working out in the forest. And I'm still kind of working on it. And we still have 10 days. So I'm going to end up at a campfire. And if you watch some of this stuff, I did plenty of camping during the making of all the content for this. But what this is, this is broadcasting to YouTube and Facebook, but really I'm chatting with those that are in the camp out. And this is the Studio Cabin Campout. And it's an event, and it's kind of an experiment I made up for my new release, which is a double album. It's a book. It's art prints. It's like this whole big thing. It seemed too big to just like plop it on Spotify and say, woo, I hope something works out, you know? And so I just wanted to do something a little special. And really my wife encouraged me to do so, because I'll share something with you. It's really been maybe the last 2 or 3 albums. 4 albums. I've had some real problems with releasing stuff. I kind of got discouraged with the whole Spotify world. I'm from the old world, and I know it's a long time ago now, but that's how long it takes for my brain to get around stuff. And I just, I just would get on, drop stuff on Spotify and not see results, and, nothing to sell but t-shirts and hats. And it would just get very discouraging. And so my last 4 releases, I barely did anything. But here's the crazy part. I would make all these plans up till release day. All these videos. I was going to do this live thing many years ago. Lots of plans, shows. And as it got closer and closer to the release, I just got more and more discouraged with trying to get all this stuff done. And finally, I would just plop it out there. Usually maybe I'd have 1 or 2 music videos, and that was it. And maybe, in total, for an album that would take 2 years, I might spend about 2 days, 2 to a week, maybe a week in total on social media. And that's about it. And I'll just let it go. And surprisingly, stuff still did well, because I'd go play, and people find my music through different ways and stuff. But this time around, I had this album, and I've got vinyls for it. I spent a lot of time and energy making this, and it's probably, that's always up to you whether, it's something you enjoy. But for me, it's probably the most enjoyable album I've ever made. I just let myself kind of explore and be, who I want to be, and I am a musician, but I'm also a writer, and I'm an artist. And I just kind of tried to put it all in there, and my storytelling, and tried to put it all in one. So tonight, I want to say one more thing, because if you are watching on YouTube and Facebook, we're not checking that. But if you want to get in the camp out, I just went ahead and left it open, because people were coming in all the way up till start time yesterday. And so I just left it open and put an email. It's an automated email. So if you want to sign up under like YouTube, in the description, you can just sign up, and it'll send you information, and you can get in on the next day. You probably could get in on today, but you can always watch the replays of the event. It's a 10-day event. There's like music video drops, there's fireside chats, there's special video content I made, and in this, in chat and everything. And also I want to say, if you're in the Campout portal, then leave a question. There's a little place to put questions there. I don't know if Hallie knows about that, but she's the one that's watching for questions. If you do have a question, I'd be glad to answer it live here. She's going to hit me up. She might poke her head out through this door and yell at me if I don't look on my screen. I have a little screen down here. So at any time, if you do have a question, you want me to try to answer, then send it through the chat in the Campout portal there, and I'd be glad to give it a go. Today, though, I've had a long day. It's been a busy day. I've been working all day. I was kind of tired, and I was thinking about what to do tonight, because I'm not planning this stuff out. And I thought, man, I want to kind of chill.
And so I don't want to do too much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read some from my book. I don't know which camera I'm at. Yeah, I'm over here. I'm going to read a little bit from my book, which is called Mornings and Midnights. And it's kind of a, easy reading kind of poetry and inspirational things that I wrote during the making of this album. And really to myself, you'll see as I read some of these are things that I got in kind of a practice of, I'll talk about that, about journaling years ago. Actually, there was a book called The Artist Way many years ago. And so I got into something called morning pages way back when. And then eventually I journaled so much, but it was just, and I think that's really good, just a brain dump. But, I wasn't breaking through any kind of my mental stops in my head with journaling. I didn't feel like I did kind of in the output of my life, but I wanted something a little bit more. So in my journaling, a lot of times I'll write what I'm feeling, and I'll ask a question. What are you going to do about this? I might pray in there or something. And then I'll write reply. I might write something to myself to kind of remind me of what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. Sometimes it turns into a poem. Sometimes it turns into a song, but it's kind of like an interaction kind of journal that I do. And so a lot of this came out of this. When this album was over, I had a bunch of scraps of all these little scraps of paper and everything. I don't even know what, when these things were written, really. They're just on little notebooks everywhere. And I pulled them together and it became this book. And I just got a question, I think. Yes, Randy, I'm so glad you're here. I saw you. I didn't get to see the chat yesterday, but I peeked in afterwards and I saw that you were here. And I'm so glad you're here. And I bet I don't even bet a lot of artists. Randy said, I would wonder how many artists feel the way I do about the whole Spotify digital world. We all feel it. Believe me, it's something we talk about often. And there's a way, there's a path to get through it. It's just, I just don't want to do it that way. Maybe I'm just stubborn. I'm rebellious. And this event is kind of me being a little stubborn and rebellious, because there is a well-worn path to go and, blow up on Spotify. Instead, I just want to interact with people. I don't care about a bunch. I'll tell you one thing. I have a song on there that's always done well because it's on a TV show. And I have no idea who those people are. And I'm glad they're enjoying the song, but they don't ever move over to other songs. My followership doesn't ever go up, but that song blows up. And that's cool if I'm trying to make money or something. But I like, music to me is like this kind of communion between people. It's like a conversation that happens. And if I'm just kind of singing off into the void, I don't feel like I'm having that. And that's why I don't play live as much as I'd like, but live is where I get that from. And so I'm going to just pick something in here. Let's start with, so I'm giving away the album during this event. And today's songs were Summer Tan and Open Road. And so what I'm going to do, so there's poetry, but also I wrote the lyrics in here, and then I wrote some thoughts about the lyrics. So I don't know what this is going to be like reading to a camera, but I'm not reading to a camera. I'm reading to you. That's all I got to remember. It feels weird with just nobody in front of you. So let's see how this goes. I'm going to read the lyrics and I'll read what I wrote about it. I want to take you out of here, take you somewhere new, if only for a little while. Sweep you up off your feet, walk on a foreign street, and we'll talk all night. There ain't nothing wrong with home. Sometimes I just feel alone, and I don't know why. What I want is an open road with my lover beside me, on that highway to places I never go. I gotta lose myself to find my way. Love is sweet when deep calls to deep in the final round, and everything you ever done stands like a mountain steep. You don't look down. There ain't nothing wrong with home. Heaven only knows how we made it through the hard times, but I'd do it all again. And what I want is an open road with my lover beside me on that highway to places I never go. I got to lose myself to find my way down another road. What I want is an open road with my lover beside me on that highway to places we'd never roam. Know that my My destination is where we go. And I need you beside me on that highway to places I'd never go. We got to lose ourselves to find our way back home. And here's kind of my thoughts on this. I wrote at some point in the journey, my epitaph, it should read, he had something to say. He tried to say it, but he couldn't. Rest in peace. Let me read that again. This is hard to read this right off. My epitaph, it should read, he had something to say. He tried to say it, but he couldn't. Rest in peace. The great frustration of my life is language. Maybe it's just my own limitations, but even the wisest, the most learned, struggle to encapsulate the truth of our existence, and that's maddening. I know something. I think we all do. We spend our lives trying to express it in words and music and art, but words fail. They hardly scratch the surface. That's why scripture is so precious to me. Those ancient writers managed to capture glimpses of what we're all reaching for. But even then, apologies if this sounds heretical. Scripture, too, eventually leaves me unsatisfied because words can only go so far. One of my favorite phrases in the Bible is deep calls to deep. 4 words that floored me as a young songwriter. 4 words that say so much without explaining anything. Ultimately, you come to accept it. Like Jagger said, satisfaction ain't happening, not here. But I've tasted it. I've continued to taste it. Fleeting, illusory, just enough to make it clear it's not here in its totality. It's somewhere else. But we glimpse it. Some years I'm lucky and I get to build a tent in it. But then I'm back out on the open roads, trying to find the way home. I'll always be losing and finding my way back home, I think, until my silly epitaph is carved in stone. So that's the lyric. There's 3 sections in here. There's writings, there's lyrics, and there's poetry. And so I'm going to read some poetry. And I think I'll kind of stick in the romantic love kind of thing. Or actually, we also did Be Not Ever Known tonight as the content. Let me find one here. And give me a minute while let's see here. Oh, this is a good one. We'll just start with why even read a poem? Why does poetry matter? Okay. Why read a poem? Who would read a poem or look at art when the world is built to entertain the heart in all its softer parts? With movies, games, sex a la carte, TV news, and home movie fame, who would read a poem or look at art? Why spin the farm on a theme park? Just thumb a book, body electric, I sing, for the heart and all its softer parts. Be entertained, whistling in the dark. Instead, dig with an axe all that remains. Who would read a poem or look at art? The competition is a week full of shark. I give to you a salve for your pain, for the heart and all its softer parts. The movie ends, but the poetry starts. The motion of eons, the soul in its reign. Who would read a poem and look at art? The heart and all her softer parts. And I'll read kind of what I wrote about that. Being quiet has been one of the biggest struggles of my life, but worth it. I wouldn't say I'm a professional at it. I'm in training. I practice often. I found that if I'm always filling my head with noise, there's no room for anything real to come out. Or worse, what does come out is just a copy of whatever went in. Life's too short to just copy. I want to know what's in me. I used to be afraid that what's in me might suck. Maybe it does, but I still want to see it, read it, write it, sing it, because it's me. Poetry is a great way to get quiet, maybe even more than songwriting. I'm talking about the quietness of the soul, the mind. A poem asks for one thing, the right word, then the next right word. Music wants so many things. It's tied to glory, to an audience and applause. Poetry, ain't no one going to read that shit. It's just for me, maybe my mama, and maybe my wife. All it asks for is the next right word from a quiet mind. All right. Now, if any of you are in there that have gotten this book early and want to suggest one, because this is hard to like just pick one off. Okay. Okay. This one's called The Heart of Knowing. You poured the cup full, overflowing. It spills all over the floor. Love in the heart of knowing. Let me try that again. You poured the cup full, overflowing. It spills over the floor. Love in the heart of knowing. I drink so fast I'm choking. It spills, but there is more. You poured the cup full, overflowing. Taste these lips. Taste your unfolding. A thirsty man searching for your love in the heart of knowing. Drenched, my clothes are soaking. Drunk, I dance, I roar. Still, you pour the cup full, overflowing. Whisper a secret of passion, glowing. Taste the wound that tore. Love in the heart of knowing. Sometimes it's grace you're groping for. So pour the cup full, overflowing. Your love in the heart of knowing. All right. This was one of my favorite ones that I wrote. Um, and one of the things when I put this together, I had the poems and then I had just scraps of kind of journaled ideas, sometimes little stories, and I just matched them. And then I kind of, found the poem that it went with. And then sometimes I would, while I was making the book, I just kind of felt something while I was reading it. And I think I wrote every poem has like a reply to it. This one's called Holy Bow. Worry not, my child. Let me tell you why. The reason most profound, Jesus has said, lilies of the field don a grand array. Oh, how much more does he hear your sigh? What change have you added by your decry? The doom-seeking heart, what a price they pay, writing a fiction alone in their bed. Blessed days ignored to live with the dead. Worry is waste and near playing God. Live in today and set purely your aim. For goodly days praise, to bad a mere nod. Each day is one, for this only you came. Worry not, my child, let me tell you how. To what may come, greet thus a holy bow. Now to live, this is my little response to that. Now to live, not for the life I plan, but as if my life is planned for me. Then how do I know this plan? Simple. It is only today, whoever stands before me and whatever comes about, greet it thus with a holy bow. And how will I know if I followed the plan? Simple. Wake up each day and live saying, thy will, not mine, be done. There's one in here I should have like dog-eared this stuff. Here's one kind of about songwriting. This one is what man can say. In my life, did I write so many songs because I had nothing better to do? Or was it a blueprint already drawn? If I knew the architect, I'd sue. Damages unaccounted and forgotten. Damages unaccounted and forgotten. It's all I have now, too old for change. I speak in song form, a language akin to crying or laughing or blowing wind. Compliments are warm, I won't deny. They push me on stage once more to sing. Only I ask, did I miss my ride? Was there some place I was supposed to be? I wrote for a girl in the breaking day. I wrote to see what a man can say. Okay, I'm just going to do one more of those, and then I'm going to read a story. Okay. This one pretty much describes my life very well here. This one's called Ever Trying. All right. How are we doing? Are we still live? It's weird not looking at the chat screen. I guess Hallie's taking care of it. All right. This one's called Ever Trying. What is gained in me ever trying when failing is my humble lot? Did cast my net too far from shore, for rare the fish I ever caught. How proud and oft did I proclaim to stumble inches from the gate, while blushing friend and rival watch me bowed again before my fate. 10 feet I leap, be 10 to fall. Hide me from the starting lines, either circling the endless drain or just now learning how to climb. What is gained in me ever trying when I fall near every pass? If God inquires how spent your life, Lord, I spent it on my ass. And this is a little sidebar journaling entry I had for that. So it says, I'm a loser, plain and simple. I'm not trying to get pity here. It's the truth, because all my dreams of youth never came true. And it's not like I didn't work for it. I feel like I worked harder than most, but I did end up accidentally winning. I found peace and love. Peace I never thought of looking for, and love I once thought was a given. When I look now at the dream, that I wanted, I don't want it. Here's to the losers. Sometimes they win. So I'm going to read a little. So there's a lot of poems in here. I've got a few today. Y'all had a spoken word, and I do it better than this. This is hard to do. It's an awkward situation standing in a room reading to y'all so far away. So I'm going to try to read a story here, and this one's got, if you got sensitive ears, since we had kind of a romantic song, Open Road is a song I wrote for my wife about marriage, really. And so I'll read one about marriage, about my marriage advice to my daughter. And it's got a cuss word in it. Got one. Uno. Uno cuss. And as I'm thinking of reading this, I'm wondering if my son-in-law has heard this story or not. And if he'll get it, though. He'll get it. Okay. Okay. Here we go. You're marrying an asshole was the best advice I could think of to give my daughter on her wedding day. It was the eve of my daughter's wedding, and the stress was as thick as a pile of bills on my desk. The lead up to the wedding had been pretty laid back, but like most weddings I've been privy to, including my own, there comes a moment when the reality of the situation ignites tension and the weight of the occasion makes itself known. Earlier in the year, my son got married, and I remember seeing that moment visibly appear on his face, a bright purplish hue rising in his cheeks a few hours before he walked the aisle. He's the type to keep his disruptions internal. With my daughter, it was different. Her stress bubbled out in worry, complaints, and a steady stream of orders directed at her mom. The tension between the two was running hot, but through much experience, I've learned to steer clear of their little mother-daughter moments. If I dare step in uninvited, they'll both turn on me. So I typically wait for someone explicitly to ask for my help. My wife and I were already frayed from the long trip and the whirlwind of wedding preparations. All day long, like a little park train weaving through trees, my daughter would make her route through our room. She'd spit out some worries or orders to her mom, and if we even hinted at offering advice, she'd pivot on a dime and zoom back to her bridal suite in a huff. Meanwhile, I was sitting on the bed, phone in hand, watching YouTube tutorials on how to tie a tie. I used to be proud of my ability to tie a decent single or double knot, but it had been decades since I'd donned a monkey suit. As I struggled to untangle what looked like a hangman's noose around my neck, Cozy, that's my daughter, burst into the room again. This time, she was crying. Tears usually meant the chaos was nearing its end. The tears and that puppy dog look. That's my cue. Cozy cries a bit. I say a few soft, wise daddy words, and she begins the recovery process I know by heart. 1, she apologizes for about 20 minutes. 2, she feels embarrassed about how she acted. 3, my wife and I assure her it's okay to be a human being on earth with emotions. 4, she returns to being the bubbly daughter we adore. But this was her wedding day, and while I thought I knew her, I wasn't sure how this might play out. We were at a new level of frantic. She ran over to me and buried her face in my wadded up triple knot tie. What's the problem, Coz? I asked. Oh, Ro, her soon to be husband, is acting weird around my friends. They're all going to think I'm marrying an asshole. I hesitated, worried about whether I should say what came to my mind, but I figured it was time for her to hear the kind of marriage advice that actually matters. I gently pulled her back so she could see my face and said, Honey, there's one thing for sure. You are marrying an asshole. She froze, shocked and confused. My wife stared at me, her face blank. Then I let out the second half, and so was he. Cozy wiped the tears from her eyes, then laughed a little. You're right, she said. I don't think I've learned anything as healing to my marriage as this simple truth. The fact is, I married an asshole. And so did my wife. We all do. No one's human nature magically disappears when they get married. Part of being human is being selfish sometimes, being an asshole sometimes. And the worst kind of asshole is the one who doesn't think that's true about themselves. That's what love is, learning to embrace the beauty and the beast in each other and accepting both, even loving both. Yeah, it ain't easy. Who told us that the greatest possession on God's green earth, enduring love, was cheap? I'm glad I learned I'm an asshole. I'm glad my daughter is learning she can be one too. My wife, well, I better stop there. Either way, as long as we know and accept that we're all assholes sometimes, we can be a happy asshole family. I started getting nervous. I was cussing so much. I don't know why, in public to the whole world. There's one here. So today we read one. You watched a video that I made with family and friends. Be Not Ever Known. I'll end with that one and then I'll play a song. But there's one related to that I wrote about the same time that I wanted to read called Edge of Morning. Okay, sorry. Hacking in the mic. On the edge of morning, the moon from midnight welcomes a cold mist and sunlight disappearing. Trickling beams of light through a forest thick, I walk here to wander while gathering sticks. For a fire under pine and sit to contemplate one day here on earth, a man alone with fate. No more shouting world, not for this tiny span. Stretched until the dawn, I'm now a wandering man. Alone I came to minister with nature as her guest. To little worlds of pine, I surrender all the rest. Soon desire will beckon, business will consume. I'll travel nearly blind to evening from the noon. Birds, come find me silent, your song my only thought. Tired of only thinking of all I have forgot. Each day a weaving thread, some patterns I discern, others lost in multitudes as timeless patterns churn. Rustling creatures frighten, now and then I turn. It's scary in the dark, that's all I've ever learned. So grasp the humble hymn from garment of divine, on the edge of morning, in a fortress made of pine. And this was my journal piece with this. I threw my phone in the trash and spent a few years starting my mornings and sometimes ending my nights sitting in the forest alone. There were new pressures in my life, and I was looking for something to come forth in me to handle these pressures. By my count, I have been 6 distinct versions of myself. First, the golden child. Second, the rising star. Third, the hypocrite. Fourth, the drowning man. Fifth, the freed man. I went into the woods looking for the 6th, the reliable man. I have never been a very reliable man, especially to my family. My old excuse that I'm the artist type was growing thin. At this time, I had everything I needed: love, children, music, good food, shelter. So there was no wants anymore. That was also new to me. All I had on my mind was the desire in this prayer: Lord, make me into a man able to take care of all you have given me. And then I'm going to end the poetry There's nothing, I got to tell you, there's nothing weirder than sitting on a camera, blasting something to the world and reading poetry. You know, I just didn't think music was going to make enough money these days. And I said, you know, that poetry game, that's the way to go. Oh, I got to find this. It's called Be Not Ever Known. Let me see if I can. Next time I make a book, I am going. I feel like reading a funny one, but maybe I won't. Okay. There's a few funny ones in here. Here it is. So this is the one today that we made the video for that everybody got to watch. This is my daughter's favorite one. And this one I would say is very closely related to just how I think of creating art and music and poetry and drawing and all that kind of stuff, but also just in life in general and going after things that matter. It's called Be Not Ever Known. Be not ever known, be not understood. All of nature groans for the man who would stand upon his plot, eyes not wandering, to work for what is not, but worth imagining. A fool he is in time, treasured when he's gone, bowing not to fame or riches to belong, standing on his plot, working with his hands, building what is not, regardless of demand. Hope, a heavy hammer, nails the grasping mind, fashioning with care one angle at a time, meeting with approval or jeering all the same. Wind sometimes applauds, often jeers the rain. Soul will speak a whisper, volumes to the few who inwardly remember what no one ever knew. Be not understood, be not ever known. Be a man that would build his dream a home. I'll read the little note on it. Here we go. In the entirety of your life, if no one ever recognized your art or hears a note of your music or cares if they do, would you still choose this path? I had to ask this question once in my life because it was pretty close to my experience. The answer was one song, then another, and then 100 more. I make art because someone up there put the fire in me. Who am I to question the gods? And I put a little tiny note here. Is that song that started me back up, started my engines back up when I was 40 years old, because I pretty much had put down the guitar for a long while. That song was called Song Before I Go, and it's out there on the internet. Actually, I just released it last month on Spotify, a bootleg of that song. And so that's the end of our book reading, kids. It does feel a little awkward, I got to tell you. I usually have a guitar, not a book. So I tell y'all what, I'm going to go grab my guitar, and if there's no questions or anything, it's hard for me to like get to the chat the way I'm set up here, so I just can't see everything that's going on. So I'm going to grab my guitar. Hold on. There we go. All right. Now, I heard yesterday's stream that it just sounds terrible, the guitar. And I'm not real sure what to do about that. So we're just doing it in the spirit of playing a song, because this is an album. And I'm very excited about this double album. And I think I'm more excited about the book because I've put out a lot of albums. I've never put out a book. So forgive me if I talk about it too much. It's kind of a new toy for me. I'm going to play this song that I put in the downloads today called Open Road. I kind of dried out my throat on all that poetry. Can y'all hear that? Let me see if I can find that. Can y'all hear the guitar? I guess I'll just play anyways. I'm going to turn this down just a hair. I'm sorry. I really did drop my voice reading. I feel like there's an old toad. My wife built a little home for a toad outside our door, and the toad still lives there. It's so weird. Speaking of my throat. Okay. I want to take you out of here, take you somewhere new, if only for a little while. Sweep you up off your feet, walk on a foreign street, and we'll talk all night. There ain't nothing wrong with home. Sometimes I just feel alone, and I don't know why. No, I don't know why. What I want is an open road, with my lover beside me on that highway to places we never go. I gotta lose myself to find. Oh, love is sweet when deep calls to deep in the final round. And everything you ever done stands like a mountain steep. Oh, you don't look down. Oh, you don't look down. There's nothing wrong with home. Heaven only knows how we made it through the hard times. I'd do it all again. What I want is an open road, with my lover beside me on that highway to places we never go. I gotta lose myself to find my way down another road. What I want is an open road, with my lover beside me on that highway to places we never rode. And I need you beside me, know that my destination is where we go. We gotta lose ourselves to find our way back home. I wanna take you out of here, take you somewhere new, if only for a little while. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for being here tonight. I'll be doing this every night for the next. Now we got 8 days left. This is a 10-day event. You got 2 days down. If you're in the Campout, you should have 4 songs now, and when you wake up in the morning, you'll have 6 until we get the whole 20 from the album. And I love to hear what you think on that. In that Campout portal, there's places under there to comment. There's a chat. There's a question area. You can leave stuff in there, but you can also just email me. My email is the one that sends you the login information and all that stuff. You can just reply, and I'd love to hear from you. And once again, y'all have a wonderful day, and look for your email tomorrow. Oh, let's talk about real quick what tomorrow's going on. So tomorrow we have a new official music video for a song called Island, which I shot in Florida. And so real excited about that. This song's really kind of a different thing for me. I did some experimenting, and I even speak Spanish in the song, which I don't speak Spanish. That's a whole story for tomorrow, how I figured out how to write that and everything. But anyways, y'all have a nice night. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.